School is, of course, back, and for many parents that brings with it the huge additional expense of childcare. So, is there any financial aid available from the state to help keep those costs down?
Well, there have been a number of changes announced by the government in the areas of childcare costs and parental leave. And Teresa Heeney of Early Childhood Ireland is here to explain it all. Good morning to you, Teresa.
Good morning.
Morning,
Very
Teresa.
welcome back. It's that time of year. It's a very expensive time for so many families. There are a number of schemes, and I suppose it's understanding what's out there and what we can avail of and what we're entitled to. So will we start with the universal subsidies?
OK, so the big thing that's changing for parents in Ireland this year is the introduction for the first time of a legislatively based scheme of subsidies called the National Childcare Scheme. It has been announced for a number of years, and that is kicking off this October. So up until this point, there have been a number of schemes available to parents, both universal schemes and targeted schemes, but they're all going to be rolled into one new scheme in October called the National Childcare Scheme. And so for the first time, what the big change will happen is that in October, November, at the end of October, we think it's going to be available. Parents will go online to National Childcare Scheme, ncs.gov.ie, and they will apply for a subsidy. So it's a big change for parents because up until this point, it has been the childcare provider that has applied for the schemes for a child
on behalf
attending.
of the parents,
So that's the first big thing. Now, the announcement a few weeks ago about the public services card could throw a bit of a spanner in the works, and we are certainly watching that because we now know that there's a problem with the public services card. If you want to apply for this scheme online, you will need a public services card. The Department of Children and Youth Affairs are saying that you can also apply with a manual application, but they're not going to be considering manual applications until the new year. So if you want the subsidy in early, I think you're going to probably need the public
all this uproar as well about
card.
the card, the services card anyway, because of the GDPR.
Yeah, exactly,
and the chance
exactly.
Right, OK, so it remains to be seen
so
what happens with that.
the scheme will begin in October. Parents will go online and they will make an application and they will get what's going to be called a CHIC. It's an identifier key, a code, and then you bring that to your childcare provider, and that code will tell you how much of a subsidy you're entitled to.
So this is not means tested?
So the universal isn't means tested and it's available to everybody, but the targeted is available and it's means tested, and it depends on your level of income. So
how much will you get out of the universal, first of all, before we go any further?
So the universal is about €1,000 a year.
OK.
And that's available to everybody.
Right, OK.
But the targeted is available. The big change as well about the targeted scheme is for families. It's for children before they go to school. It's for children from the age of 26 weeks up until the age of 15. So it will cover school-age services. It'll cover after-school service during the summer if your child is in school. A lot of parents have to use childcare in the morning before school. It will cover all of those, and you will. So when you put your details into this application portal on the website, it'll tell you how many hours you're entitled to and at what rate, because the rates change depending on the age of your child.
So if they do breakfast clubs, after school, creche, Montessori, all that stuff,
that can all be covered, and then you have to put in the details of your income, and depending on the number of children in your family, depending on things maybe like the maintenance arrangements that families may have in place, and depending on the level of income. So the greater the income you have, the level of subsidy will go down, obviously. But I think quite a number of families are going to find that they fall within the scope of the scheme, because at the moment what we're looking at is €60,000 after-tax income, which I think will cover quite a lot of families, actually, that you will be entitled to a subsidy. And we saw a leak last week in the newspapers where there was a suggestion that the number of hours that a family might be entitled to might be increased in the forthcoming budget. So currently it's up to a maximum of 40 hours a week.
Right.
And there was a leak last week. Obviously it's not confirmed that might go up to 45 hours a week for a working family.
OK. Right, fascinating stuff, and you can go on the website there for more. What kind of support will there be then for people using because you mentioned like after school and all that kind of thing. What about childminders or registered registered childminders?
These schemes are only available in TUSLA registered services.
Okay.
So they have to be registered with TUSLA and therefore inspected by TUSLA.
Gotcha.
And currently there are only 81 childminders. We saw that in a news story during the week. There are only 81 childminders registered with TUSLA.
In the country?
In the country. And however, we know that a lot of families use childminders and prefer to use childminders. So what we heard the Minister announcing during the week is that she's going to develop a set of new bespoke regulations for childminders that are fit for purpose, that maybe are not the same as need to be complied by a service that has 30 or 40 children. You know, if you've got 3 children in your home, obviously the type of regulation and training that you might need are different. So she's saying she's going out to consultation. She opened a consultation scheme, and Minister Sapone is committed, certainly, to developing a new set of regulations so that more families can access the National Childcare Scheme.
That's not going to be happening in October. We're not going to get
That's
anything on that.
certainly not going to be happening in October. And that strategy talks about a 10-year strategy before there was, because she's targeting up to 19,000 childminders, and we currently have 81. So getting to 19,000 is going to take quite a journey. But a lot of those families are going to want access to the National Childcare Scheme at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think that families will probably be saying during the consultation scheme, you really need to get
and
this
families
going.
who are benefiting from the likes of ECI, Teresa, they can still put forward a claim.
Absolutely, and ECI doesn't change. So ECI, as we know now, has been extended to 2 years, and so children now from the age of 2 years and 8 months have access to the free preschool programme, which is now a 2-year programme, and loads of children are starting that tomorrow morning, I'm sure.
Including one of my own.
There, well, good luck with that.
OK, should we jump onto the targeted subsidies before we run out of time? So this is a means-tested claim. OK.
What can you get out of it?
Who is that for?
So that's for all families, and it's there in October we expect to see a reckoner, an income reckoner published on the website. There is also a phone line available already, though, and that phone line is for parents. So while the reckoner, so that you or anybody else can go onto the website and you can calculate what you can estimate what you might get. But at the moment the phone line is available, and so I think that a lot of parents, if they're curious about what kind of subsidy they might be able to get, should call that phone line, and because there's a whole set of people there who can answer the questions about this is our income, this is our net income, these are, and what do you think our subsidy might be. So I think that's probably the easiest way, and going on to the ncs.gov.ie website, there's a whole set of examples. You know, we're a 2-parent family, we're a 1-parent family, we have 3 children.
So lots of case studies there.
There's loads of case studies, and that's probably the easiest place to go, I would say, for the detail.
There's not going to be any money out of this until November anyway. So kids are going to be back in school nearly 2 months by the time they actually get a few bob out of this. Am I right?
I think that's right, yeah. Okay. And it's not kicking in until November. But a lot of the parents that are going to be accessing the National Childcare Scheme are probably already in receipt of subsidies. Because don't forget that this scheme is amalgamating all of the existing schemes. There are some families who might say, well, actually, I'm going to stay on my existing scheme. I'm not going to change until next year, and they're allowed to do that. Yeah,
I just very quickly, I want to check on parental leave. What are the developments there for people? Having babies and taking time off? Yeah, so we know the existing arrangements about maternity leave and the unpaid maternity leave, but what's happening in November is that every parent is going to be entitled to 2 additional weeks paid parental leave, which is new, and also we're going to see an extension of unpaid parental leave, and which there's going to be an additional 4 weeks this year and an additional 4 weeks next year. So unpaid parental leave obviously isn't like Early Childhood Ireland has been campaigning for parental leave to be paid and to be paid at a decent level, because so many families can't afford to take it. But it's certainly a welcome development. And the other thing that is changing as well is that the age of children is increasing. So now you don't have to take all your parental leave up until the child is 8. Now you can take parental leave. It has been extended until children are 12 years of age.
And does that apply to dads as well? Sorry, Ray.
Yeah. It
does.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right, so you get a bit more use out of it if you can. Thank you very much for all that. And you can find out more online, or you can make your application online as well. Fantastic. Teresa, thanks a million.
Thank you, Teresa.
Cheers.